What is your 20s story?
20s. Oh, my 20s has been interesting. I went from IT to fashion in the most unexpected way possible. So, from my background is IT predominantly. I'm studying computer science to pursuing fashion, enter the fashion competition, was able to enter into Fashion Week through that. Entered doing from that, I went into studying fashion, and then now I'm in marketing. So my 20s has been a very interesting roller coaster, but it's been fun. It's been up and down. It's been rocky, but I'm grateful for the opportunities, the lessons I've learned from my 20s.
How was the transition from going from IT, fashion, and marketing?
From fashion and getting from IT into that was interesting. So before I started university, I used to never buy my own clothes. I had a traditional mindset of fashion, no, it's only for girls, no one really cares about that. But once I got into university, I realized that most people dress for themselves and most people really actually look really cool. And at that point, I just started discovering, okay, I want to look better, I want to look different, I want to reinvigorate how I look. And so that's how I started learning, researching, looking online, forums, all that stuff. And it came to maybe like a year in, I was like, crap, this is the only thing I do in my spare time. It's the only thing I enjoy. I'm not enjoying computer science, but everything I do is fashion revolved outside of that. And I was like, okay, I've got to make the switch. And so eventually, close to my second year, I decided to kind of pursue that. And my mentor at the time was like, I knew you were going to leave, but I didn't want to say anything. And so from that moment on, I just started pursuing fashion. I was doing all the research on how to get into the schools, how to get into the kind of either the apprenticeships or the kind of foundation courses, and eventually came across a competition that was introduced to me by a colleague I was working with. Entered that, I was like the only guy who eventually won or became a finalist on that. I was also the only person from an IT background, but for me it was interesting to see how something I never really thought I would ever end up in would be something that became a passion of mine. And then transitioning from that to marketing, for me, I just took a step back from fashion just because I got in during the COVID time, and so the opportunity to learn and to be able to get skills necessary wasn't really that well out there, nor was it available even through the institutions. So eventually I decided to put on the back burner whilst I kind of explore something new, whilst I build up my kind of capital, and then eventually something I'd love to go back into. But it's been an interesting journey. Marketing is still heavily tied into fashion, but I would say that it's at my heart. Like everything I do revolves around clothes, one or the other.
I think you touched on something about identity and having your own style as well. Do you think it's important for people, especially at a young age, to have their own identity and style?
Oh, 100%. I think.
Fashion, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I think if we start with fashion, I think most people are dressed by the explore page, which means that everyone eventually becomes a melting pot of the same style, no individuality, no sense of self. But fashion is meant to be an extension of yourself, but also in the sense of style when it comes to lifestyle, when it comes to how you operate in daily life. People become too self-absorbed in a reality that they've concocted based off of internet algorithms. In that sense, I think that people really should really dip deep into themselves and really understand who they are as a person, their community, their background, what makes them happy, what doesn't make them happy, understand what fits them and what doesn't fit them. Everyone can develop their own style, but I think it's just a matter of really understanding, who you are as a person, but also at the same time trying to avoid being captured by Instagram, by TikTok, by Pinterest, because ultimately the more and more you absorb from that stuff, the more you become molded into someone else's image, not your own. And you'll see that because once you step into Instagram and you click on one person's image or one trend that you saw, your feed becomes filled with that, and then you realize that, okay, all you see is exactly that same thing. And then you slowly but subconsciously get molded into that thing. So I think ultimately people just need to take a little break off that and really find themselves. There's so much to do. Just explore, experience people, experience outside, observe, surroundings, people around you, nature, scenery, travel. You develop yourself through that, and I think it's all a part of you. It's just latent, it's dormant, basically.
How has your mentor impacted you?
Do you know what? I haven't spoken to my mentor since then, but I would say he was someone who had challenged me to kind of just be the best at what I was doing. He, funny enough, had some interest in fashion in some senses, but I would say that he was someone who helped me out a lot, and he had a hands-off approach in the sense that at that time, though he did help me out with really trying to figure out computer science when I was studying that, I appreciated that he didn't tell me to leave. He didn't tell me, hey, you should pursue this, but he just guided me in the best way I could in what I was passionate about at the time or what I was really set on at the time. And then eventually, when I decided to leave, he was like, "I knew you would, and I'm sure you do great in this, but I didn't want to say anything or push you in that direction. It's something you had to find for yourself." And so I appreciated that. And in many aspects of life, sometimes it's not by force. Sometimes you slowly find yourself into something that you might not have expected you'd be enjoying, but you might find yourself being passionate about something that, I had a feeling about this, but I never thought I would. And, well, here I am, right? So.